The rain was coming down hard that night. I remember because I didn't have an umbrella. My key went into the lock, but it wouldn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. The porch light flickered above me like a broken heartbeat. I knocked, then pounded. Finally the door cracked open. My mother's face appeared in the gap. She didn't look sad. She looked tired of me. "You can't stay here anymore," she said. Her voice was flat, like she was reading a grocery list. I laughed because I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. She closed the door. I heard the chain slide into place. I stood there, half soaked, completely confused. This was my house too. I grew up here. My room was upstairs. My whole life was inside those walls. But the lock had clicked, and suddenly I was nobody. Shame burned my face hotter than the cold rain. I didn't know what I had done wrong. Her final words echoed in my skull like a bad song stuck on repeat. "You've disappointed this family for the last time." What did that even mean? Had a job. I paid my share of the bills. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't a monster. The porch light kept flickering and I kept shivering. I wanted to scream through the door. I wanted to beg. But something stopped me. Pride maybe. Or shock. I just stood there while the rain soaked through my work clothes. My phone buzzed. A weather alert about flash floods. Perfect. I thought about calling my aunt or my cousin, but then I imagined what my mother had already told them. Lies probably. She was good at those. I pulled my jacket tighter and walked down the steps. Each step felt heavier than the last. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have money in my pocket. All I had was confusion and a growing feeling that something much darker was happening behind that locked door. Mrs. Ellis from next door must have seen me standing there like a lost dog. She came out with a gray blanket and a worried face. "Child, you can't stay out here," she whispered. She wrapped the blanket around my shoulders. Smelled like lavender. Then she dropped the bomb. "Your mother's been telling people things." My stomach dropped. "What things?" I asked. Mrs. Ellis glanced back at my house like she expected my mother to burst out yelling. "She says you have a problem. A drinking problem. That you stole from her purse." Almost choked. "I don't drink. I've never taken a penny from her." But Mrs. Ellis kept going. "She told the whole neighborhood you're going to rehab. That's why you're leaving." My heart pounded. My mother wasn't just locking me out. She was destroying my name. In a small town, rumors spread faster than fire. By morning, everyone I knew would think I was a liar and a thief. The emotional stakes just skyrocketed. I needed a motel room. Just one night to think. I walked to the 24-hour gas station down the road and used their ATM. My hands were shaking from the cold. I slid my card in, punched my code, and asked for $100. The screen blinked. Insufficient funds. That couldn't be right. I had almost $8,000 saved up. My mother and I shared a bank account from when I was a teenager. I never got around to opening my own. Stupid, I know. I tried again. Same result. Checked my balance. 0. Every single cent was gone. My knees went weak. She didn't just lock me out. She stole everything. $8,000 of my hard-earned money. Gone in one click. I stared at the screen until the machine timed out and swallowed my card. Betrayal doesn't even begin to cover it. This wasn't parental correction. This was theft. Pure and simple. And I was left with nothing but a wet blanket and a broken heart. I crashed on my friend's couch that night. The next morning I made the mistake of opening social media. My cousin had posted a picture from a family dinner the night before. Everyone was there, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Everyone except me. The caption said, "Praying for my cousin to get the help they need." Help? For what? I scrolled through the comments. My coworkers had seen it. My boss had seen it. People were calling me brave for admitting my problem. One aunt wrote, "Addiction runs in families. So glad she's finally doing something about it." Felt sick. My mother had staged an entire intervention without me. She had turned my own family against me with lies. Humiliation spread through me like poison. I wanted to comment on every post and scream the truth. But who would believe me? I was the addict. I was the thief. My mother had built her trap perfectly, and I had walked right into it. That's when my sadness started turning into something else. I sat in my friend's old sedan in a parking lot. The engine was off. The windows were fogged up. I had no money, no home, and no reputation left. My phone was blowing up with supportive texts from people who thought I was in rehab. I wanted to throw it against the wall. Instead, I just sat there in the silence. Then I whispered out loud to myself, if she wants to treat me like a criminal, I'll show her what real justice looks like. The words tasted strange in my mouth. I had never been a vengeful person. But my mother had crossed a line. She didn't just hurt me. She erased me. I turned the key in the ignition. The engine growled to life. In that moment, something inside me clicked. Not a lock this time, but a plan. I wasn't going to confront her yet. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to be smart. I was going to be patient. And I was going to win. My friend let me store a few boxes in their garage. I was sorting through old things, yearbooks, clothes, random junk, when I found an envelope I'd never seen before. No return address. Just my name in my father's handwriting. My heart stopped. He had been dead for 3 years. I opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a small key and a piece of paper that said 2 words. Unit 43. That was it. No explanation. No goodbye letter. Just a key and a number. I didn't even know my father had a storage unit. My mother had never mentioned it. She had told me he left nothing behind except debt. But here was proof that she was lying. Again. I held that key like it was made of gold. Whatever was inside Unit 43, my father wanted me to find it. And my mother didn't want me to know it existed. That was all the motivation I needed. The next morning I went looking for answers. Unit 43 was in an old storage facility on the edge of town. My key worked. The door rolled up with a loud screech. Inside were boxes, dozens of them, all labeled in my father's neat handwriting. Legal documents, property deeds, estate planning. I opened the first box and found a stack of papers. The top one read, Last Will and Testament of Jonathan Cross. I knew that was my father's name. I started reading. The will was clear. 50% of everything went to my mother. 50% went to me. That was fair. But I knew that wasn't the will that got used after he died. My mother had told me he left everything to her. Kept digging. At the bottom of the box I found a letter. It said my mother had tried to rewrite the will after my father got sick. He refused. So she forged it after he died. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. This was fraud. The family attorney's name was Mr. Holloway. He was old with gray hair and tired eyes. I showed him the will I found in Unit 43. He went pale. Where did you get this? He whispered. Told him. He pulled out the official will that my mother had filed after my father's death. We compared them side by side. My father's signature on the real will was smooth and steady. The forged one was wobbly, wrong. Mr. Holloway grabbed a magnifying glass. This isn't even close, he said. The date is wrong too. She filed this 6 days before the funeral. Your father was already unconscious in the hospital by then. Fraud. My mother had stolen my inheritance and then locked me out of my own house to cover it up. I wasn't the problem. I wasn't the addict. I was the victim. And now I had proof. Mr. Holloway looked at me. What do you want to do? I already knew the answer. Before my father got sick, he installed a security system in the house. Hidden cameras. He said it was for emergencies. My mother never liked them. She said they were creepy. After he died, she told me she had ripped them all out. But I remembered something. My father was a careful man. He would have backed everything up. If those cameras caught my mother meeting with anyone about the will, I could prove she planned the forgery. I just needed to get into the house. But I was locked out. Or so she thought. I remembered the old crawlspace entrance under the back porch. My father showed it to me when I was 12. If you ever need to get inside and the doors won't open, he said, use this. I smiled for the first time in days. My mother didn't know everything. And that was going to be her downfall. That night, I crawled through the mud under the back porch. The crawlspace door was still there, hidden behind a bush. It opened with a squeak. I squeezed inside and found myself in the basement. My heart was pounding so loud I thought she might hear it upstairs. Crept to the attic. The vent was loose, just like my father showed me. I reached inside and felt around. My fingers touched plastic. Flash drive. Pulled it out. The label said backup in my father's handwriting. I stuffed it in my pocket and crawled back out into the night. Back at my friend's garage, I plugged the drive into a laptop. There were hours of footage. I scrolled through dates until I found the one I wanted. 6 days before the funeral. There was my mother, sitting in the living room with Mr. Holloway. She was laughing. She handed him an envelope. Make sure this replaces the old one, she said on the video. He won't be needing his half anymore. Played it again. And again. The evidence was perfect. I could have confronted her right then. I could have called the police. But I wanted more. I wanted to understand how deep this went. So instead of running to the courthouse, I got calm. I gathered every bank statement and legal document I could find. Then I applied for a job at the non-profit where my mother worked. She was the director. I used my middle name on the application so she wouldn't recognize it right away. They hired me for data entry. Low level. Boring. Perfect for watching. Every day, I sat in a cubicle and typed numbers into spreadsheets. But I was also watching. I watched who came to her office. I watched which files she locked and which she left out. I watched her smile at donors while counting their money. And slowly I started noticing things. Numbers that didn't add up. Transfers that made no sense. My mother wasn't just a thief at home. She was a thief at work too. And I was going to catch her. The non-profit was supposed to help homeless families. But the more data I entered, the more I saw money disappearing. Small amounts at first. 500 here. 1,000 there. Then bigger sums. $10,000 transferred to a company I'd never heard of. I looked up the company. It was a shell. Just a fake name and a P.O. box. The real owner. My mother. She had been stealing from the charity for years. I found a private fund in her name. Hidden under the shell company. Thousands of dollars meant for homeless families had gone straight into her pocket. The betrayal was deeper than I ever imagined. She didn't just ruin me. She was ruining innocent people who needed help. Copied every file. Every bank record. Every hidden transfer. I built a second folder of evidence. This wasn't just about my house anymore. This was about justice. Real justice. And I was the only one who could deliver it. I ran into an old family friend at a coffee shop. Mrs. Patterson used to babysit me when I was little. She looked older now, but her eyes were still sharp. She pulled me aside and whispered, "I need to tell you something." My mother had tried to have me disinherited from my grandparents, both sets, long before my father even got sick. Mrs. Patterson had been there when my mother made the phone calls. "She said you were trouble," Mrs. Patterson said. "Said you would waste the money. But your grandparents didn't believe her. They left you everything anyway. But then your mother became the executor of their estates. And somehow, the money just vanished." Felt cold. This wasn't a sudden crime. This was a pattern. My mother had been stealing from me my whole life. She had been planning this for years. The lock on the door wasn't the beginning. It was just the latest chapter in a very long, very ugly book. Kept digging. Someone had to be helping my mother move all that money. One person couldn't hide that many transfers alone. That's when I found him. Her new fiancé. A local banker named Mr. Vance. He was twice her age, rich, and had access to everything. They had been dating for 2 years, but she never told me. I found pictures on his social media. Vacations, fancy dinners, a new car. All paid for with stolen money. And now they were planning to retire abroad. That meant they were going to run. Take everything and disappear. Had to move fast. The story had grown beyond family drama. This was corruption now. A banker and a charity director working together to steal from everyone around them. I wasn't just fighting for my house anymore. I was fighting to stop two criminals before they escaped. The clock was ticking. I didn't go to the police first. I knew my mother had friends in high places. If I tipped off the wrong person, the evidence would disappear. So I mailed copies of everything. Bank records, camera footage, the forged will, to two places. First, an investigative reporter at the city newspaper. Second, the entire board of directors of the nonprofit. I sent the packages anonymously. No return address. No name. Then I waited. That was the hardest part. Every day, I went to work and smiled at my mother like nothing had changed. Every night I checked the news. Nothing. 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 Then, on the fifth day I saw it. A reporter had posted online. Charity director under investigation for embezzlement. My heart nearly exploded. The storm was coming. And my mother had no idea. I sat back and watched the calm before the storm. It was beautiful in a terrible way. She had locked me out. But I had just unlocked the cage around the truth. The non-profit's annual banquet was a big deal. Black dresses, fancy food, speeches. My mother was supposed to be the star. She stood at the podium, beaming, while everyone applauded. I was in the back serving drinks. She didn't even see me. She gave a speech about helping the homeless. About honesty and hard work. Every word was a lie. Then her phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again. And again. Finally she looked at the screen. I watched her face change. Her smile collapsed like a house of cards. She stepped away from the podium and answered. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read her lips. What do you mean the board knows? The banquet hall kept clapping, not realizing the show was about to end. People started pulling out their phones. News was breaking online. Charity director under investigation. The whispers began. My mother looked around the room like a trapped animal. And from the back I just watched. Police arrived 20 minutes later. They walked through the banquet doors just as dessert was being served. Guests scattered. Chairs scraped the floor. Someone dropped a glass. My mother tried to run for the side exit, but an officer blocked her. We need to ask you some questions, he said. She looked past him and saw me. For 1 second our eyes met. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just stared. She knew. I could see it in her face. She knew I had done this. The officers led her out the front door. The same front door where she had locked me out 2 months ago. Only now the locks were behind her. They put her in the back of a squad car. The door closed with a thud. Poetic symmetry. She had locked me out of my house. Now the law was locking her out of her freedom. I walked past the squad car without looking back. The rain had stopped. For the first time in a long time I felt dry. That night I got a call from a blocked number. It was Mr. Vance, her fiancé. His voice was shaking. I didn't know anything, he lied. She did this all on her own. I didn't believe him for 1 second. But before I could answer, the line went dead. The next morning I learned why. Mr. Vance had taken his cut of the stolen money, almost $200,000, and fled the country. His bank account was empty. His house was for sale. He left my mother holding the bag. Alone. Broke. Publicly disgraced. Part of me felt satisfied. She had betrayed me, and now her partner had betrayed her. But another part of me felt empty. This wasn't about revenge anymore. At least it shouldn't be. I wanted truth, not destruction. I wanted her to admit what she did. Not because I needed an apology. Because I needed to understand how a mother could do this to her own child. The money didn't matter. The house didn't matter. The why mattered. Weeks passed. My mother sat in county jail, waiting for her trial. I didn't visit. I didn't call. Then one night my phone rang. It was her. From Holding. I almost didn't answer. But I did. She was weeping. Not the fake tears she used at the banquet. Real ugly choking sobs. I was jealous, she said. Your father loved you more than anything. More than me. He always said you were the best part of him. I said nothing. He kept talking. When he got sick, I saw my chance. I forged the will because I couldn't stand the thought of you getting half. I wanted it all. I wanted to erase you. There it was. The confession. Not an apology, but the truth. She didn't lock me out because I did something wrong. She locked me out because she couldn't handle being second place in my father's heart. I hung up without saying goodbye. Some wounds don't heal with words. I turned over all the evidence to the authorities. The forged will. The bank records. Camera footage. The hidden transfers. Everything. But I also sent one more package. This one went to my entire extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. Everyone who had attended that fake intervention dinner. Inside I included a letter. Short and simple. Here is the truth. Read it. I was never an addict. I was never a thief. My mother stole my inheritance and my reputation to cover up her crimes. I have proof. Now you decide who to believe. Within a week, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Apologies. Dozens of them. From people who had called me a liar. From people who had prayed for my recovery. The community that judged me now wanted my forgiveness. I didn't give it easily. But I gave it. Not for them. For me. Emotional justice is quieter than legal justice. But it lasts longer. 1 year later, everything was different. I had a new apartment. A new job at a different nonprofit. One that actually helped people. I had new friends who didn't know my mother's lies. And I had peace. Then I got a call. My old house, the one my mother locked me out of, had been seized by the bank. She couldn't pay the mortgage after her accounts were frozen. The house was going to auction. I bid on it. I won. Standing on the same porch where I had shivered in the rain, I held the new keys in my hand. They felt heavy and light at the same time. I unlocked the door. It opened without a fight. I walked inside. The rooms were empty. No furniture. No memories. Just walls and floors and windows. But it was mine. I whispered to myself, this time I'm the one coming home. And for the first time in a year I believed it. A few weeks later, a letter arrived from the prison. My mother's handwriting. I recognized the slanted letters. I almost threw it away. But I opened it. It wasn't really an apology. It was more of a confession. She wrote, I am proud of you. I know that doesn't make sense after everything I did. But I am. You were smarter than me. Braver than me. You built a life I could never have built. Then she added, but I am still bound by my mistakes. Can't take them back. I can't undo the locks or the lies. Some doors stay closed forever. I read the letter twice. Then I walked to the backyard fire pit. I struck a match and watched the paper curl and blacken. Half closure. Half wound. That's all she could give me. And that's all I would ever get. Some stories don't have happy endings. They have honest ones. I burned the letter and went back inside my house. That night, a memory surfaced. I was 10 years old, sitting on my father's lap in this very living room. He was teaching me chess. Kept losing because I rushed. He put his hand on mine and said, you don't have to scream to win. Just never stop thinking. I didn't understand then. But I understood now. My mother had screamed. She had thrown tantrums and told lies and slammed doors. But I had thought. Every step of the way I had used my brain instead of my fists. That's how I won. Not with anger. With patience. With evidence. With the quiet, steady work of putting one foot in front of the other. My father gave me that gift before he died. He gave me the key to Unit 43. He gave me the flash drive in the vent. But most of all, he gave me the lesson. Never stop thinking. That advice guided every move. And it always will. I stand in my restored home now. The windows are clean. The floors are polished. New furniture fills the rooms. Sometimes I hear noises and think it's her. But it's just the house settling. It's just the past letting go. I learned that revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't need fireworks or screaming matches or dramatic showdowns. Sometimes revenge is simple. It's coming home to the life they tried to take from you. It's standing on the porch with your own keys in your own hand. It's looking at the locked door and realizing you're the one who chooses who enters now. So if you're out there and someone has locked you out, literally or emotionally, remember this. Don't scream. Don't beg. Just think. Gather your proof. Be patient. And build a home so strong that no one can ever lock you out again. Because the best revenge isn't hurting them. It's outliving them. It's outsmarting them. And it's coming home.